Dayon Vishnu Papa Hamsa Parivata Kacharya Sutta Sutta Shri Shrimat. His Divine Grace, Ishi Bhadranta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Dayon Vishnu Papa Hamsa Parivata Kacharya Sutta Sutta Shri Shrimat. Bhaji Siddhanta Swati Thakur Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai. Shrimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. All glories to some devotees. All glories to some devotees. All glories to some devotees. All glories to Shri Guru. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, Nama Om Vishnu Padaya, Krishna Preshaya, Bodhale, Srimate Bhakti Prakasha Swami. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 We're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 16, Text 27. You guys have it?
You said it's 6.
3:16:27. Okay, while we do that, you guys. Okay, Brahma Uvacha Ata Te Munaya Dristva Nayana Ananda Bhajanam Vaikuntam Tat Atishtanam Vikuntam Cha Swayam Prabham. All right, you guys got it? Okay. All right. Brahmo Vacha Atate Munayo Dristva Nayanananda Bhajanam Vaikuntam Taradishtanam Vikuntam Cha Swayam Prabham. Brahmo Vacha Atate Munayo Dristva Nayanananda Bhajanam Vaikuntam Taradishtanam Vikuntam Cha Swayam Prabham. Brahmo Vacha Atate Munayo Dristva Nayanananda Bhajanam Vaikuntam Taradishtanam Vikuntam Cha Swayam Prabham. Please repeat.
Brahmovacha Atate Muniyo Drishva Nayanananda Bhajanam Vaikuntam Taradhishtanam Vikuntam Cha Swayam Prabham. Brahmovacha Tate Muniyo Drishva Nayanananda Bhajanam Vaikuntham Taradhishtanam Vikuntham Cha Swayam Prabham.
Okay. Excuse me. All right, we'll go to the word for word. Sorry, I'm just trying to see something. Okay. Brahma Uvacha. Lord Brahma said. Ata. Now. Te. Those. Munayaha. Sages. Dristva. After seeing. Nayana. Of the eyes. Ananda. pleasure. Bhajanam,
Bhajanam,
producing.
producing.
Vaikuntam,
Vaikuntam,
the Vaikunta planet.
Vaikuntha,
Tat,
Tat,
of him.
Will,
Adishtanam,
Shanam,
the abode.
the abode.
Vikuntam,
Vaikuntam,
the Supreme Personality Godhead.
Supreme Personality of God.
Cha,
Cha,
and
and
Swayam Prabham,
Swayam,
self-illuminating.
self-illuminate.
Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Translation. Lord Brahma said, after seeing the Lord of Vaikunta, the Supreme Personality Godhead, in the self-illuminated Vaikunta planet, the sages left that transcendental abode. Purport. The transcendental abode of the Supreme Personality Godhead, as stated in the Bhagavad Gita and confirmed in this verse, is self-illuminated. In Bhagavad Gita, it is said that in the spiritual world, there is no need of sun, moon, or electricity. This indicates that all the planets there are self-illuminated, self-sufficient, and independent. Everything there is complete. Lord Krishna says that once one goes to the Vaikuntha planet, he never returns. The inhabitants of Vaikuntha never return to the material world, but the incident of Jai Vijay was a different case. They came to the material world for some time, and then they returned to Vaikuntha. Om Jnana Dinivandasya Gananjana Salakaya Dakshu Militamina Tasmai Shri Guru Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamani Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Kamalam Shri Guru Vaishnam Shri Rupam Guravatam Sahagabhanatritam Dam Chirivam Sadedam Savadutta Parijana Saitam Krishna Lutanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakan Hey Krishna Karina Sindhu Dinamando Jagapate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Mosite Tapta Kanta Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Siti Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatayu Vacha Kipasini Bhayevata Patitanam Bhavimbayo Vaishnavi Namo Namaha Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasaya Bhutale Shrimate Pati Vyasa Swami Janamane Bhubijai Vikaso Bhakti Purvo Yatinjahan Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Pashati Deshitarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Kadadada Shivasati Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Artha Vingayana Vase Namo Anta Viramani Nama Punyaya Lokaya Mushmai Bhuri Vaishase Pravedaya Nivedaya Piti Devya Karmane Namo Dhamma Bhaktaya Michave Dikadaya Cha. Translation. Lord Brahma said, after seeing the Lord of Vaikunta, the Supreme Person of Godhead, and the self-illuminated Vaikunta planet, the sages left that transcendental abode. So this pastime is continuing the four Kumaras, getting darshan of Lord Krishna in the Vaikunta planets. Prabhupada opens up this very short purport by saying how the transcendental abode, the Supreme Person of Godhead, as stated in Bhagavad Gita, is confirmed in this verse, and mentions a Bhagavad Gita verse that says that in the spiritual world, there's no need of a sun, moon, electricity. So, what verse is that?
I think there's a Prabhas meeting there.
Natat Basyate Suryam Nasa Sanko Napavaka Yat Katvani Nivartante Tatamapa Mamama. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita that supreme abode of mind, there's no need of a sun, moon, electricity. Everything there is self-illuminated. And the Bhagavad Gita is considered a preliminary text. Yet, in the Bhagavad Gita, you're having descriptions of the supreme reality, the Vaikuntha planets, in the preliminary text of Bhagavad Gita. And Prabhupada makes a point how, so in that verse I just go in the Bhagavad Gita, Prabhupada quoted here, I said, "Natat basite suram." So the verse before that, Prabhupada said, Krishna says, Nirmana loka, Chitta Sangha dosha, Adyatma Nitya Vini Vitikama, Dwanvare Vimuka Shuka Duka Shamgir, Gachanta Muda Padama Vayamtat. Krishna says, before talking about the supreme reality, the supreme abode, Krishna says that before you can even come to that, you have to be free from certain things. You have to be free from nirmana moha. You have to be free from pride. Prabhupada makes a point that there's no question of going to that supreme reality if you still have pride in you, right? And we see how pride is very detrimental. We see these big demons that have come and Krishna has killed, they were overcome by pride. Ravana was overcome by pride, even though his ministers told him, you shouldn't kidnap Sita. There's going to be destruction of your dynasty. Don't do it. He has so much pride. He said, no, I'm Ravana. I can do what I want. So even in the Bible, I think it says, before destruction, a man's heart is haughty. So even the Bible understands that before destruction, a man's heart is haughty. Haughty meaning full of pride. So before somebody's downfall, they have a lot of pride. And the conditioned soul is always struggling with this pride. But there's one way to curb this pride. I mentioned this a lot of times. I can mention it again, especially because Ram Navami is coming up. You see the example of Hanuman. He's a perfect demonstration of how to use your pride in Krishna service. So doing my studies of listening to His Holiness Bhakti Swami's lectures, reading Prabhupada's books, there's one lecture specifically, His Holiness Bhakti Swami Maharaj makes a, I forget the lecture on the Vishnu Sahasranam, but he talks about pride. He talks about one lecture, talks about how pride is the cause of destruction. But then he makes a following lecture saying how pride can actually be, you could use pride in the service of Krishna. And transcendental pride is different. That transcendental pride is always seeing oneself as a humble servant of the Lord. And when you see the pastime of Hanuman, I'm not going to go through the whole pastime, but when Hanuman snuck into Lanka and he allowed himself to be bound up by the Rakshasas of Ravana, they wanted to humiliate him. They wanted to, show him around the town and humiliate him. At that moment, Hanuman said, wait, what is this? I am a devotee of Lord Ram. How dare these Rakshasas try to humiliate me? And I'm a devotee of Lord Ram. So that was an exhibition of his transcendental pride. He's saying, how dare these low-class fellows try to humiliate me? I'm a devotee of Lord Ram. So what did he do? He expanded himself. The past time his tail fire and he burned the city down. So, but the point is that transcendental pride means to always see yourself as a humble servant of the Guru. You actually should have pride in the fact that your Guru picked you up and saved you from the darkest regions of nescience. But this pride isn't material. It's the spiritual pride of glorifying your Guru. Yes, I am a disciple of a bona fide spiritual master who's capable of bringing me back to Godhead. So this pride is a type of pride we should have, actually. But when Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Nirmana Moha Jitta Sangha Dosha, that type of pride, he's speaking of the pride of trying to be great in the material world. And this is the pride of gross materialists and karmis, and this pride is detrimental. So it's a fine line, even when we're having pride in serving a guru, still we shouldn't have so much pride that we're putting down our God siblings or other devotees. Like, yes, my guru, in one sense, you should see your guru as like, yes, this is the best disciple of his own he's Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. This guru, he's perfectly qualified to guide me. You should have that, but it shouldn't be at the detriment of putting, because he's a disciple of that guru, he's bogus. Because he's a disciple of this guru, he's bogus. So that is when that pride, transcendental pride of the guru turns material. So, like I said, he says, Nirmana Mota Jittasana Dosha, Adhyatma Nitya Vini Vitakama. You have to be free from lust. And this lust it comes from pride. You have to be free from dualities in material nature. These dualities of hate, love, hot, heat, cold. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Matra Sparsa to Konteya. In the very beginning of the Bhagavad Gita, one of the very first verses, he tells Arjuna to be tolerant. And as practitioners of Krishna consciousness, we have to tolerate so much, actually. We have to tolerate so much. We have to tolerate the onslaughts of our mind, from the onslaughts of other materialists trying to berate us, the onslaughts of even maybe devotees who are not acting properly. So we have to tolerate. And this is a symptom of a Mahatma, is he's able to tolerate all these dualities of material nature. But as I said, we can't even begin to speak about attaining the transcendental kingdom if you can't even control your mind, and you become afflicted by this material pride and lust. So we have to be very cautious in our execution of Krishna consciousness to realize, are we making advancement or are we making offenses? Because ultimately, I'm going to speak about this later a little bit, but devotees fall down for two reasons. And it's leaning the Bhagavatam, how was it Sharba Muni? That's what you say his name? Sharba Muni. He says he fell down because he was meditating underwater for like thousands of years. Then he fell down because he saw fish having sex. Does that make sense? So it's described how he didn't fall down because he saw fish having sex. He fell down because he committed a Vaishnava aparad against Garuda. And that fall down was his manifestation of his offense. So when devotees fall down, it's two reasons. But then you see Bharat Maharaj, when he fell down, it wasn't because he committed offense per se, it's because he just had lust in his heart still, and that lust was the deer, that stag that he got bewildered by, was actually a manifestation of his lust. That's what the only Bhakti Vikasa Swami makes that point, that the deer was just a small lingering lust that was still lingering in his heart and manifesting in the deer. So the devoted fall down, like I said, two reasons: offenses and lingering lust in the heart. But of the two, it's actually better to have a lust in your heart, because once you commit offenses, it's very hard to come out of that. You see, Dravasa Muni, he went all around the three worlds trying to mitigate his offense to Amarish Maharaj. And he even went to Krishna himself. Even Krishna himself said, nothing I can do for you, boss. Like, once you commit an offense as a Vaishnava, your only rectification is to bow down the lotus feet like a devotee. That's the only remedy for that. But some devotees have so much pride that they, even though they commit offense, they still don't want to go bow down and try to negate their offense to that devotee. But that's the only means. It's the only means. So, in the execution of our Krishna consciousness, we have to be very careful of these anarthas that creep up on us, because we want to speak about the spiritual world. We want to speak about going there. How, yes, it's a very descriptions of the kingdom of God are very nectar. There's no other literature like this. No other scripture in history that has so much vivid description about the kingdom of God, right? And actually, in that verse, I just quoted that, and it's the verse in Bhagavad Gita that talks about how the planets are self-illuminated. Prabhupada makes a point in that purport how we should be captivated by this information. We have to be captivated by the information of the spiritual world, because we're already captivated by so many other things. We're captivated by Instagram. We're captivated by women. We're captivated by wealth. And these different captivations are causing us to lose 100% interest in service of Krishna. So we have to be captivated by these descriptions in the Bhagavatam. A symptom of being captivated is being eager to hear. Actually, to the degree you're eager to hear, and to the degree you're relishing hearing Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita and these different trends of literatures, to that degree you're attached to Krishna. So a symptom of somebody who's attached to Krishna is they're attached to hearing. This is a very great symptom. Great devotees are attached to hearing the messages of Sri Krishna. So we should be captivated by this information that even Lord Rama is saying, the self-illuminated Vaikuntha planet. And just on another point, like this is a very short purport, but for some reason, the first thing I thought of when it says that the Supreme Personality and the self-illuminated Vaikuntha planet, and it says that the inhabitants there are all, everything there is complete. The planets there are self-illuminated, self-sufficient, independent. For some reason, I thought about the Atmarama verse, you know, because the Atmarama verse is, I can read it actually. This verse has been delineated upon by great acharyas, even Lord Chaitanya himself delineated upon this verse. This is a very important verse. I can read it very quickly. This is Srimad Bhagavatam 117. All different varieties of Atmaramas, especially those established on the path of self-realization, though free from all kinds of material bondage, desire to render unalloyed service unto the personality Godhead. This means that the Lord possesses transcendental qualities and therefore can attract everyone, including liberated souls. So this Amarama verse, it pretty much is delineating how there's different levels of transcendentalists. You have those who are Brahmavadis who desire to emerge. You have those who are attached to the Paramama feature of Krishna, and you have those who are Bhaktas. All these are considered Amaramas because Amarama just means completely satisfied in the self. And by attaining each one, either of these perfections, you can be considered an Amarama. And it's actually mentioned the four Kumaras were considered Amaramas before they entered the Vaikuntha planets. And this Amarama verse is delineating how even those who are liberated, freed from lust, greed, and anger, um, we 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 know the Lord is superior because those who are freed, who are Atmaramas, even they are attracted to the service of Krishna. You see Sukadeva Goswami, he's also Atmarama. He performed the pastime being impersonalist. He also was very attracted to the pastimes and the of Krishna. So those who are already liberated, they take great pleasure in the service of the Lord. And Lord Chaitanya, when he was preaching Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, he you were mentioning this yesterday, Rishi Kumar Prabhu, how Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya is making all these weird like arguments and for 7 days about the Mayavad philosophy, and Lord Chaitanya was just like he didn't say anything. And then Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya was very confused, like, okay, why he's not saying anything? Is because he wasn't, you know, he wasn't speaking the true essence of the Vedanta philosophy. And so when Lord Chaitanya began to, and then Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya asked him, okay, because you're such a great pundit, you explain he's still Sarvabhauma, he's actually Brihaspati, but he's born in the pastime of being a Mayavadi. But he tells Lord Chaitanya, okay, you explain the essence of Vedanta. So Lord Chaitanya just explains the essence of Vedanta. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, he was gradually, okay, this makes sense. But it wasn't until Lord Chaitanya actually spoke this Amarama verse and delineated it so perfectly that Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya realized, oh, this is the Supreme Personality Godhead. Because only the Supreme Personality Godhead can break down these verses like this. I think you were mentioning this also yesterday in your class, how uh now I'm blanking. But I think Ramanuja Acharya, I think you're making the point how he made different elaborations he had different ways of attacking Mayavad philosophy. And this is a symptom of an intelligent person is they're able to defeat one idea by different forms of thought, trains of thought. And so Lord Chaitanya, he actually broke down this Atmarama verse and he explained it in different ways. So many different ways that Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, as the great pundit, couldn't help but be amazed. He was like, wow, I've never heard such beautiful descriptions of this Amarama verse. And Srila Prabhupada actually, in the mood of Lord Chaitanya, also in this purport, has the different meanings of this Amarama verse, but pretty much he breaks down each word. So each word in this Amarama verse, he breaks it down and he attributes it to a quality of a pure devotee. And the first word in this Amarama is Amarama. And as I just mentioned, that just means those who are completely self-satisfied. And is mentioned, like I said, the four Kumaras. Another note, it's probably getting a little off track, but I was reading yesterday how there's 5 different rasas that one can serve the Lord. You have Shanta, Dasha, Shakya, Vatsalya, and Madhurya. Is mentioned how the four Kumaras actually embody Shanta rasa. I didn't know that. They're actually, because Shanta rasa is actually, it's in between impersonalism and personalism, as explained in Chaitanya Charitamrita. It's not exactly Personalism, because there's still those who are in the Shanta Ras, they're still attracted by the opulences of the Lord. But once you start going to Dasha Sakya, you're more captivated by the service itself and less captivated by the opulences of Krishna. So the four Kumaras, when they came to the Vaikuntha planets, they were attracted by the lotus feet of Krishna. But what distinguishes somebody who's in the Shanta Ras and Dasha Rasa is that those who are in Shanta Rasa haven't fully developed the mood of service yet. They are attracted to the lotus feet of Krishna. They're attracted to the narrations of Bhagavatam. They're attracted to, everything about Krishna, and they meditate on Krishna 24 hours a day, but they don't fully have that service attitude to want to serve devotees in Krishna. So, and like I think is mentioned like in the spiritual world, like the cows and the trees and the birds, these are like examples of the Shantaras. They're in the spiritual world, they're liberated, but they haven't fully imbibed that service attitude. However, when we get to the spiritual world, our devotional service actually, it doesn't stop there. You can say it actually just begins, because I can't find it, but I remember reading and teaching of Lord Chaitanya that when you get to the spiritual world, you can actually make further progression. If you're in the Shantaras, you can actually further develop the Dasaras, and Shakaras and Vatsala. You can actually, it's degrees of development. So it's not like, because I don't know, like, for me, when I first heard that, like, okay, what do they do in the spiritual world? And you read Krishna book, you're like, okay, wow, that's amazing. So what do they do in the spiritual world? Like, I guess you think like I used to have this, I don't know, this weird conception. Like, I mean, yes, granted, in Vaikuntha planets, there's like flying airplanes and all this nice, magnificent buildings and all this palatial buildings and stuff. But in the Goloka Vrindavan, like, okay, what that's that they say this is the highest planet. This is the highest destination. What activities in Goloka Vrindavan? Well, Krishna goes out, he blows his flute, he calls the cows, he takes some lunch. Yeah, he takes some lunch, and then he steals some butter. He passes some stool in some Gopa's house, Gopi's house. And then he dances with some woman, and he goes home. Jai. Okay, what else is that? That's it. So it's really hard with a materially conditioned mind to realize like the bliss of what's going on in these relationships. Like that's what I was saying, that in Vaikuntha planet is a little bit more like they have the flying airplanes and magnificent temple deity worship. Not, we wouldn't say, you can't not necessarily deity worship because the Lord is there, but magnificent worship of the Lord. All these nice descriptions, but because the opulence is manifested, but is mentioned in Global Vrindavan, it's actually the opulences are hidden. It's not necessarily like they're hidden opulences. The opulence is within the relationships. We can't really, for example, if you have a lover and beloved, they have a certain rasa that they have. And somebody from the outside looking in, they can never really understand what's going on. Like I remember I was outside the temple one day, and it was for the Shravana Kirtan camp, and I just see this guy arguing with his girlfriend, and then I know where they started fighting. And I was like, oh my God, like, should we step in? And the guy never was like, Prabhu, I wouldn't step in. That's their relationship. I wouldn't get involved in that. So there's certain rasa that couple has. I don't, like, we really don't know, like, what transpired before then. If that's how they get along, they just fight when upset. And I've seen couples like that. They will fight, and then the next day they will be like best friends. So that's a certain rasa, and somebody from outside looking in can't really understand the emotions that those people are having. Similarly in the spiritual world, you can't really understand the emotions that Sudama, for example, has when he goes to Krishna and Dwarka. You can't, that the emotion he has is mentioned when he first sees Krishna, he's overjoyed with spiritual bliss. And just speaking with Krishna, he's like tears coming from his eyes, his description of his body, the hair standing on end. You can read it, but it's like it's mentioned how you can't really relish the taste of sugar unless you taste it. Similarly, we can't really relish these rasas unless we taste it ourselves. Nonetheless, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is giving us the highest rasa. He's trying to give us full love of God, prema, But nonetheless, it's not that, okay, prema, bet. So I don't want to dasha, I don't want to be dasha, I don't want to shaka, I want to be a gopi. No, this is a misconception, because even after we get initiated, every devotee is das. We always have the mood of das. of being a servant. And whatever rasa you have, you're always a servant. We should imbibe this mood of being a servant. This is very important. We because that service attitude that distinguishes it from the different rasas. Because Mother Yashoda, she has great service for Krishna. Not that the coward boyfriends don't have great service for Krishna, but you see how to the degree of the rasas, the degree that intensity of service is displayed, and the feeling of separation from the Lord is intensified in the different rasas. And that's why you see, I was reading how Krishna, he was just joking with Rukmini, how he was like, yeah, he's not a suitable husband for her. And she was completely started freaking out because she had so much intense love for him that she couldn't even bear the thought of separating from Krishna. I mean, this is like a very high level because that service attitude is there. You want to serve the Lord so much, you don't care about the opulences, you don't care about nothing. All you care is about the service itself. And so even in Christian consciousness, as neophytes, it's easy to get. I mean, we're in this farm community, but there's these natural opulences. You see, great hills and nice mountains to the water. But these opulences are only here to help to facilitate our devotional service. We're not here necessarily just to enjoy the scenic view. We're not here necessarily just to enjoy, a nice jog. Yeah, we're here because it's more conducive for our spiritual life. So even in Christian consciousness, it's easy to get bewildered by the opulences that Krishna gives us because naturally we're going to get opulences. Lakshmi is the wife of Narayana. So the goddess of fortune is the wife of Narayana. So we don't have to strive for opulences. Naturally, is going to come to us. But devotees who are fixed in the service of the Lord, they're not bewildered by such opulences because they're so attracted to the service. And so in the spiritual world, especially in Loka Vrindavan, it's imbued with service. So we can just read vivid descriptions of the spiritual world, but if we don't have that service attitude, then it's no point because you're not qualified to be, you're not fit to be there. That's why we're in the material world. We weren't fit to be in the spiritual world because we didn't have the proper service attitude. We wanted to be Krishna. We wanted to be the enjoyer. So that's why Krishna facilitated an environment for us to be the enjoyer. So, in this Rama verse, there's one thing that I wanted to. Okay, Amma Rama verse, Prabhupada breaks down each word. And Prabhupada says in his purport that according to the Prakasha Sanskrit dictionary, there are 7 symptoms for the word Atma, which are as follows: Brahman, body, mind, endeavor, endurance, intelligence, and personal habits. And Prabhupada also makes a point of teaching Lord Chaitanya. Let me see if I can find it. See. Okay, so Prabhupada says that, like as I said, in Atma, he said Atma. This is the very first word in the Atma Rama verse. Atma, like I said, 1, the supreme absolute truth. It means 2, the body; 3, the mind; endeavor, intelligence, conviction, and nature. And then the word Arama means enjoyer. And then Prabhupada says anyone who takes pleasure in the cultivation of the knowledge of these 7 items is considered as an Atma Rama. So, of these 7 delineations of what Atma means, 2 of them stuck out to me: endeavor and conviction. Right. So one who is an Atma Rama, who is fully satisfied in himself, fully satisfied in the service of the Lord, he has endeavor and conviction. And I'm not trying to go on a whole storytelling class, but I mean, it's Ram Navami is I think on Thursday, and I was reading about Vishwamitra. I think Mahosa was making this point too as well, but I'm gonna say it again because the story of Vishwamitra is it can be very inspiring for those who continuously like fall down and have pitfalls in the Christian consciousness. Anyways, the story of Vishwamitra, as brief, is that he was a great Satriya, and one day he went to the hermitage of Vashishta Muni. And when he went to the hermitage of Vashishta Muni, he saw so Vish oh my God, why am I blanking right now? Vishwamitra, he had his like army with him. And so Vashishta Muni was able to have all these delicate preparations made by a Kamadinu cow. A Kamadinu cow is a wish-fulfilling cow from the spiritual world. This actually is funny because if you look at the Parashuram pastime, this is literally the same stuff happened. Where like I'm like, anyways, but yeah, they had a Kamadinu cow, and then Vishwamitra, he became envious. He said, "Hey, Vishishamuni, I need this cow. You know, whatever. I'll give you thousands of gold. I'll give you thousands of land, cows, but I need this cow." And Vishnu said, "No, I need this cow for my sacrificial performances." So Vishwamitra, he became envious. He tried to snag it from Vishishta Muni, and anyways, long story short, a battle ensued, and to be brief, Vishishta Muni came out victorious, even though he's a Brahmana. He's a Brahmana, so Vishwamitra said, First, he said, okay, let me perform some austerities. So he got the benedictions of Lord Shiva to get celestial weapons. He went back to Vishishta Muni with these celestial weapons, and then Vishishta Muni completely disenabled them, smashed them again. And that's when Vishwamitra Muni realized, okay, maybe the powers of a Brahmana are way powerful than a Kshatriya. So then he realized, I'm just gonna perform meditations. I want to be a Brahmana. So he performed his meditations, and then in the course of his meditations, he became bewildered by Menaka. He fell down, long story short, he fell down. But then after he came back to his senses, he said, I vow I will never fall prey to lust again. He performed severe austerities. And then I think it was Lord Brahma became, it was Indra. Yeah, Indra became pleased with him. No. So when he did it, I'm cutting the story short. I'm not trying to tell the story. But he became pleased with him so much that he said, okay, I award you the title of Raja Rishi. And then he was like, a Raja Rishi, I want to be, what is that? I want to do it in the Raja Rishi, like, like I don't want to be a Raja Rishi, like a Brahmana is way higher than Raja Rishi. No, so he performed more austerities, and Indra saw that, wow, he's being powerful. Then Indra sent, what's her name? What was he? Ramba. Yeah, and Ramba was like, I don't want him to go down. Indra said, don't trust me, he's gonna fall victim to you. Don't worry. And then Vishwamitra Muni, he was doing his meditations, trying to attain the status of Brahma Rishi. And then she came, and then at first he was attracted. Then he realized, wow, this is another trick. So he became angry and he cursed her to become a stone. And then it's mentioned how he still wasn't able to become a Brahma Rishi because he became controlled by anger. So even though he didn't become victim by lust, he still had anger in his heart, so he still didn't attain that status. So then he said, no, you know what? I won't become prey again. So he had a conviction. He said, I'm going to be a Brahma Rishi. I don't care. So he kept doing. He got awarded a Maharishi. He still wasn't satisfied. I don't want to be a Maharishi. I want to be a Brahma Rishi. So eventually he got the status. But I say that story because it says, Anatma Rama, as I quoted, he has conviction and he has endeavor. So, and you see, when I read that pastime, I was like, wow, just see how much endeavor and conviction. He's just trying to be Brahma Rishi, but I was thinking to be a Vaishnava. There's going to be so many allurements. There's going to be so many pitfalls, but we have to have this conviction and endeavor to get back up, even if we fall down, even if we mess up. We have to have the conviction to say, I don't care. I'm going to try my best to be on the path of perfection, even if I fall down. But the thing is, you shouldn't anticipate fall down. But Prabhupada, it's actually a verse in the Bhagavatam that talks about devotees who fall down. It's 1:519. It's Navajanao Jatu Kantancha Chan Navrajin Mukunda Sevya Yanyavat Anga Samsritim Smaran Mukundan Gri Yupaguhanam Punar Vihatamitin Narasagraho Janaha is a very, very instructive verse for devotees who are struggling with falling down, or devotees who are struggling with trying to just be completely fixed in Krishna consciousness. Narada Muni says, my dear Vyasadeva, even though a devotee of Lord Krishna sometimes falls down somehow or other, he certainly does not undergo material existence like others. Because a person who has once relished a taste of the lotus feet of the Lord can do nothing but remember that ecstasy again and again. So this is assurance that even though the devotee may not be perfect in the execution of Krishna consciousness, Narada Muni is guaranteeing them there's still no loss, because once you begin, you're guaranteed success eventually. Even it might not be in his lifetime, but eventually you're guaranteed success. And Prabhupada makes a very nice point is purport that even though a devotee falls down, a devotee is never considered the same as a fallen karmi, because a karmi suffers results on fruit effect reactions, whereas a devotee is reformed by chastisement directed by the Lord himself. The sufferings of an orphan and the sufferings of a beloved child of a king are not one and the same. So, Chris, and he also says, as a special favor, um, Krishna may remove all material paraphernalia from a devotee who has fallen down, and Krishna may chastise the devotee by putting him in a certain situation to correct himself, right? But that chastisement isn't like the chastisement of a karmi. When a karmi falls down, they just go back into the cycle of birth and death, and they suffer from their own karmic reactions. When the devotee falls down, the Lord takes special care of that devotee, and He will arrange for that devotee to come back. There's a lecture by His Holiness Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj about one of my god brothers, I think in Russia. He fell down and he didn't practice Krishna consciousness for a long time. He wrote a letter to my Guru Maharaj saying, I really appreciate you for guiding me all these years, but I am thinking about joining some other religious institution. And if you look at that video, you see so much pain in his only Bhakti Swami. He's like, you just tell that like he had so much love for this disciple, even though the disciple was telling him, yeah, yes, Maharaj, I really appreciate you doing it for me, but yeah, I'm going somewhere else. So Maharaj made this lecture saying, please, just stick with the path, stay on the path of devotional service, just please stick with it. And then there's a follow-up lecture where this devotee who tried to leave says, after I heard that lecture, I became full with bliss, and I realized that there's nothing higher than Krishna consciousness. And the reason why I cite that is because that is exactly what this verse is talking about. Even though a devotee falls down, he can do nothing but remember that ecstasy again and again, right? So even when the devotee even tries to leave, right? Even when you attempt, I'm done, you can't help but remember the bliss of Krishna. There's nothing like it. There's nothing like the bliss of Krishna consciousness. It's incomparable. It's like the iron is like gold and iron. It's incomparable to the material pleasures, right? So, even though a devotee might fall, they might suffer, Krishna and his devotees will make special care. I was just thinking about that, like, out of all disciples, because Swami, he could have just let it go, like, okay, Hare Krishna, you want to leave? Bye. But even with Srila Prabhupada, with his disciples, like some of his disciples, they wanted to leave. He created a whole other institution defaming Srila Prabhupada, a whole other institution. And Prabhupada still has so much love for his fallen disciples. It just shows that devotees are so compassionate because they understand that without Krishna consciousness, people are going to suffer. So much compassion. So much compassion for the fallen souls. But like this verse is saying, once the devotee falls, it's not like a fall of a karmi. He's guaranteed to come back up, whether in this life or next time. But Krishna will take special care to bring him up. Is that saying you take one step to Krishna, he'll take 1,000 steps towards you, right? So we have to have faith that, well, first we need to be careful. We should actually be fearful of the material energy. Prabhupada says one thing about Western disciples is they're not fearful enough of the material energy. They're too comfortable, they're too lax with the material energy. Because once you become lax with material energy, you're opening yourself up to fall down. But the point I'm making is, even if you fall down, it's not the same. The Christian will guarantee success. So we actually need to be very, very mad after Krishna. Actually, everybody in the material world is mad. Everybody's moha. Everybody's bewildered. Everybody's, as I mentioned in my class, they're full of moha, the bewilderment of pride. But we should come to a level where we're bewildered by the internal energy of Krishna. Actually, the highest level of Krishna consciousness is be mad after Krishna. But we do that through the process of sadhana bhakti and association of devotees. So we want to speak about the spiritual kingdom. We want to speak about going there and not returning. However, we haven't fully imbibed that service attitude yet, so we're not qualified. And the whole process of sadhana bhakti is to help us realize the importance of serving Krishna, right? What Lord Chaitanya has given us is so profound because we can serve Krishna and his devotees just by chanting Hare Krishna. We don't have to do opulent yajnas. We don't have to do grand deity worship, you know. Well, and we should do deity worship. Prabhupada actually makes a point that for neophytes, deity worship helps them curb the lusty propensities. So yes, they go side by side. Deity worship and chanting go side by side. But the point is the chanting Hare Krishna, that's the easiest method of serving Krishna. And when we become fully attached to this Maha Mantra, we can fully relish the bliss of the spiritual world. Um, the spiritual world is contained in the Maha Mantra. Just like it's mentioned, just by we're reading I remember what it was, the Mayapur Mahatmya or something. I don't remember. We're reading a book in Mayapur. What? Yeah, Navadi Mahatmya, Mahatmya. I probably still messed it up. Anyways, we were reading that in Mayapur. It's mentioned just by thinking about Mayapur, you can just by thinking the word Mayapur, you can like neutralize tons of sinful reactions just by thinking about Mayapur. That's because it's not different from Krishna. Krishna's abode and Krishna are non-different. So when we speak of Krishna's abode, yes, it's very grand and grandeur, but we shouldn't think, okay, this is the abode, this is the holy name, they're different. No, you should see it all as connected. And by having proper vision and proper service attitude, we can eventually reach that planet, which is spoken of this verse. So I mean, like this is a pretty short purport. I don't want to say more than I have to. So yeah, I'll end my class here and open up any corrections, comments, questions, anything somebody might have. You don't have to think about something. You don't have anything is wrong. Yeah. Yeah.
I have someone. I mean, later in classroom, and what I really like about Christian consciousness, and like especially coming from Christian background, is that there's progress and discrimination. Like when I was a Christian, I really like Christianity in one sense, but it's just there's that idea of going it, you are how you are now for the rest of your life, and then you just go to heaven, and then somehow all these terrible things that are in your heart and in your mind are just gonna be like vanished, and you're gonna like be perfect in heaven, and but then there's that conception of just enjoyment. You're not really serving God. There's no conception of serving God. Even when on this earth, there's no, their preaching isn't based on service. It's just, you see a lot of the preaching is a lot about worldly things, and they may talk about, different things, maybe giving money to the church, but, they don't talk about, unalloyed service and getting rid of like, separate, sense gratification separate from Krishna, which is so nice about, Christian consciousness, is that because how can you go to the spiritual world when you just want to enjoy, like you get materialist to the Godhead, and then just Vrindavan, and then hey, a gopi is like you run into some like parijata tree or whatever, some wish fulfilling tree, and you're just taking down a bunch of it. And gopi's like, come, don't do much.
Yeah.
But about like the people, I could understand that. I can understand that I had like so, although I didn't know what duplicitous meant, like I'm so duplicitous on my actions. I knew that. I was like, whenever how I would treat people was different than how I felt inside. And I was thinking, if I felt like that, surely everyone must feel like this. And I was thinking, this is like, how can we all go to heaven when we have such terrible hearts, And that's what was really attractive to Christian consciousness, process of cleansing the heart.
Yeah, that attracted me too.
Obtaining a pure state of consciousness, because how you can't even purify consciousness if there's no knowledge of the consciousness, what that means, in relation to the soul, because the Christians say there's no need for all this knowledge.
Yeah.
But actually you need to know. You need to know that, there's a pure state of consciousness, and you have to understand what state of consciousness you're in, and this is where you need to be to obtain Godhead so that you can serve God properly. So Christian consciousness provides such a nice knowledge so we can actually progress and we can experience that progress. We can feel it. We can, in our heart, in our mind, we can actually experience a level of coming up when, and so it's so nice. We have everything in the process of serving Christians so clear.
Yeah.
What Krishna wants, how to serve him. It's service. It's like completely service based. It's this whole science of servitude, which is so nice. There's nothing like.
Yeah, and the thing is, you can't even escape service because, like you said, the Christians they want to do some service, but the object of the service is incorrect. Like they want to do service by feeding the homeless, or they want to do service by, you know, I don't know, like doing some like
Going to villages
and yeah, and I converted them to Christians, and so they have this mood of service, but the object of their service is flawed. Like they're not serving for the purpose of, okay, I'm serving to please God. Mainly the service, okay, I want to serve humanity. And that's like this, like Gandhi had that same misconception, like service to man is service to God. It's not necessarily the same case. Like if you serve God, you serve man. It's not the other way around. It's like you serve man, you serve God. It's not the same. And yeah, it's a good point as far as like knowledge is like this gyan is like, it's very necessary. Actually, Mukunda Abaru made that point that he said he was asking like all these verses, and nobody but the Shidabru knew these verses that he was quoting. And he said, Gyan will save you, and it's a good point. Gyan will save you, like just because when you're choked up at time of death, just remembering like even if you remember one verse from the Bhagavatam, like that's enough. The Bhagavatam is not different from Krishna. One verse from Bhagavatam liberates you.
It's a mantra.
Yeah, it's a mantra. The Hare Krishna mantra. The important like the thing is like this gyan is emphasized in Krishna consciousness, but it's not overly emphasized. For example, like because then you have the Gyana mark where like okay, they're just obsessed with gyan so much that they just like they just want to merge, right? That's like their highest thing is just to merge because they become too obsessed with gyan. We're obsessed with gyan and is as much as related to bhakti. Like our focus is bhakti and naturally gyan comes. Just I want to make that point also that one thing that's very attractive about Christian consciousness, it offers so many solutions to everything. Like if you read Prabhupada's books, he has solutions from just a local level to a community to national level to worldwide like solutions. And it's like, the thing is, it's like you might have some people, they might have like, okay, this is a solution to like the national problems, this political party, right? Or this is a solution to local problems, but nobody has solution for each level of issue all the way up to the world, right? And it's like, Prabhupada has given us a formula to literally change the whole world. It sounds like very like, what's that word? It- like, no, what it seems like very like a shooting star. Yeah, utopian. That's a good word. Like utopian. Yeah, it's a solution to all the problems in the world. Yeah, but it's like it's like even coming in, you might be like, yeah, that's a solution, but that's how it's going on right now. It's like we're trying to have these farm communities and people in ISKCON. I've talked to one Prabhupada disciple, I can say his name, but I was like, yeah, Christian Life, we're selling the temple and we're getting these farm communities. He was like, what? He's like, why you sell the temple and go to the farm? And I was like, well, that's what Prabhupada wanted. He said, yeah, but that's later though. Right now, you shouldn't worry about book distribution later. You do farms later, not now. But then it's like you keep saying that. Like, and then another generation, they'll say later. They say later. It's later because they keep saying later because they really have no faith in it. That's why they keep pushing it off, like, oh no. It's important, but it's not important right now. So it's like the solutions that Prabhupada has given us, if we just implement it, like you see the results. Like Prabhupada says, the solution to curbing addiction is just chant Hare Krishna. One antidote is like, okay, you're addicted to cigarettes. Just what is it, like chant around every cigarette you smoke? No, it was like every cigarette you smoke, chant around, something like that. And then it is recounted how the person eventually he didn't have desire to smoke anymore because he's like, wow, I'm getting more pleasure chanting than I am smoking. So it's like, is this a solution to your addiction? It's a chant. But thing is, no problem can be solved unless we solve the problems within ourselves first. That's the first thing.
That's the biggest thing.
And that's the thing with Christians. Yeah.
You can't solve your problem.
Yeah. Only Christian can solve your problems. Exactly.
But
yeah.
That's when you're talking about pride. That's what is so defining, so like different. Is this humility in devotees. It's just it's so no one wants a servant that's puffed up.
Yeah.
If you're serving God, you're supposed to be the most humble, you know, but you know, we were seeing the sign, these Christians, when they say if what it was like yeah, it's okay, just tell them that you love them. I'll handle it. Like,
Yeah, love everyone, you know, I'll take care of
and I'll handle it. Like speaking from like point of view of God, like don't worry about them. Just try to love everyone. I'll handle it. You know, it was like a big fat sign on the road. Like even from the point of materialists, no one likes people who are so
Yeah, nobody, they don't like that. Yeah,
You know, no one likes that.
yeah,
Like it's like how Jesus loves you. Like
yeah.
the Christians, they're the most puffed up out of all of
They tell people you'll burn in hell if you don't believe it. What kind of pride? We don't tell people that. We don't tell people you don't take Christian you're burning in hell. We don't say that. We just say, okay, just take some prashadam. You know, even Prabhupada says that. Prabhupada says even these great. Okay, you know, just follow strictly. You want to be a Christian, then follow strictly. You know, you want to be a Muslim, then just follow strictly. We're not saying you'll burn in hell because you're gonna be a Muslim. You're not gonna. Yeah, we don't like so. Yeah, that's a good point. That's a symptom of this great pride, thinking whatever I'm doing. And the thing is, actually, what we're doing is the best, right? It is definitely the best, but simultaneously, it's not where we're going out, and just straight being like, "You're gonna burn in hell forever. You're gonna burn in hell forever. You're gonna." It's like, no, we don't do that. It's like we just try to encourage people where they're at. You know, wherever you're at, just okay, you should come up. Yeah.
This guy is just like full of himself.
Yeah.
Full of himself. Gumar is so expert, you know. He's just like
Yeah.
Like, obviously Gumar knows much more.
Yeah.
You know, but he does things that would question just get purified.
Yeah. Actually, I wanted to say something because you were mentioning about humility. Another point, when we might be doing books, people would be like, "You guys are monks. You guys are supposed to be humble, but why are you harassing us for money?" And they don't realize actually that is the greatest manifestation of humility is me asking you to get the donation for these books because you only care about the orders of your spiritual master. You're completely surrendered to your orders of your spiritual master. Of course, there's ways you can go about it, but the point is people think like, oh, these monks they're actually for money. They're trying to like sell stuff. What kind of monks are these? They're not humble. But no, actually doing book distribution is the greatest manifestation of humility because you're trying to follow orders of your guru. So actually, even you made a good point that even materialists don't like pride, but simultaneously they don't materialists simultaneously don't really know what it means to be humble, right? They think humility means they think humility means somebody slaps you one cheek, give them the other cheek. That is not humility. That's called probably I read that in another purport. That probably said non-violence in certain instances is rascaldom. So that's not humility. So the thing is, we can't even understand real humility unless we hear from Krishna. Like Krishna will tell you, there's this thing, God would tell you what everything means. When you try to concoct what humility is, oh, I'm gonna be humble by not speaking for the rest of my life. No, that's not humility. I'm being humble by going out. I'll give books, but I won't ask for a donation. It's like even some devotees have this like, oh, you shouldn't have a donation. Even Prabhupada clearly says in his books, you should. I mean, not in the books. He says in some lectures, you should get a donation.
Some books we do how you saw the book for like way more than double.
Yeah.
And then Prabhupada says so like that's good profit.
Yeah, exactly. Prabhupada encourages. He's like, yeah, go out, get books, get donations. This is glorious. Because if they don't donate, they won't value the books. Anyways, but yes. A lot that can be said, but yes, sorry, Dasham Muji.
Also, take this moment of silence.
Yeah.
Somebody had done that, but then because they had to still communicate somebody who was still right on.
Yeah.
Still like
Yeah.
Anyways, there's another materialistic teaching over the last church service I went to. They had these special guest speakers came in. This was a big I don't know if you like these mega churches.
Yeah.
This is like people like head honcho, like basically like really high in this tree. Yeah, you know, they're like you're starting to like church. One of the like big names. So anyways, they came to games, seeing fired out, and some starts off like oh yeah, like they're all like that, like it's such a terrible situation that I found Jesus Christ. And then he was talking about how he tied and he started getting out of church. And it's just like very
It's going from like, yeah, I found Jesus Christ in a hotel room to, yeah, I now I tithe my way to a check. Yeah, and now I want houses, and you know what? If you give to God, God gives to you. Everybody was like,
Yeah.
He was spilling over with checks.
Yeah.
Oh, it's like the whole scheme, the whole conception is that on the merit of you doing service to God, you get to enjoy it.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's like so. I was like, I'm just jazz. And then also like you've been on but there's no conception, but really, you know, like, I'm just like seeing people I went to school with. It's like, wow, this is like clearly a terrible person. Look, you see him on Sunday, all nice and dressed up. And
Yeah.
It's like completely, you know, different, you know, different presentation. I guess you'd say. It was just, you know, I saw it especially from my own family that you know Sunday comes around, dress your best, everybody puts on a big smile and act like we didn't just like yell at each other and we're at each other's necks like all throughout the morning and in the car right to get there. But we get the church service and all of a sudden it's like okay, yes, we're actually like men and women of God. And women.
Yeah.
It's just it ultimately sometimes just it's a cheating.
It is well.
Cheat me, cheat you, and then cheat everybody else. It's awful.
And it's interesting because like actually these prosperity churches making like bank like millions of dollars a year. So then if you think about it, the thing is Krishna will reciprocate the desires of living entities. So people are coming to Krishna through the agency of Christianity, whatever, trying to get money. Some people are successful, some people aren't. But the point is that they're going for that. And eventually, I think Gumar makes that point too, that you know, you go to some religion, you want money, you might not get in this life because you desire it so much, you might get in your next life, right? So Christian will reciprocate with these because they're like, you think about it, how is it that the Christian gain so much money, right? They gain so much money. So I mean, obviously Krishna is reciprocating but to the degree that they want to be reciprocating. They don't want more than that. They say, yeah, I just want material prosperity. That's it, you know. But then it's like devotees, we don't like it's like completely opposite. Actually, like you see devotees. I remember I was at this event and this Mataji was saying how, yeah, I remember devotees back in the 70s, they were malnourished and they were skinny and they're trying to cheat. And you see devotees completely different, you know, it's like devotees like, you know, I mean, that's not the case. I mean, some devotees malnourished, but the point I'm making is that like we don't necessarily, that's not what we strive for. We don't strive for this material prosperity. It's like if it comes or it doesn't come. And actually Krishna might actually put you in a situation where you're straight suffering and you just have this kind of accept it. Like, and but that's the thing, because Christians, when they start suffering, they become atheists because they have no idea, they have no conception of, okay, God is putting me in a suffering condition to purify myself. Because they have no understanding of purification. They think whatever they're doing, they have no understanding of, okay, my bad misdeeds, I need to purify myself, my conscience, as Abhimanu Pachutapu was saying. They have no idea of that. So when sufferings come, they blame God. They blame God for the problems because they have no understanding of karma, right? It's like this understanding of karma is so important. Like if you don't understand karma, then like actually, I was just reading that if you can't, if you don't understand the difference between matter and spirit, you're not even fit to talk about transcendental subject matters. So if you don't understand like karma has to do with material subject matter, you can't understand some basic things. Whatever they're saying becomes as nonsense. Like you're trying, like they go up there, it might sound like they're about to say something profound, and then because they have no understanding between material and spiritual subject matters, they're not qualified to speak about it. It just ends up just being like word diarrhea or something. So, but yeah. Anything else? It's good. Okay. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Vancha Kalpataru, Jai Kripa Sindhu Vaidya, Patita